Yo, what is up, everybody? Pete Peterson here with Dream Huge Realty, and my special guest today, Mr. Bernie Fernandez. How you doing, sir?
Good. Thanks for having me here.
Good. Quick introduction here for Bernie. He's a sales and marketing guru. Mr. Persistent, can I call you that? That's how I know this guy right here, because he is very persistent in a good way. President and founder of eMedia Suite, and also GreatSportsShots.com, you may know him from. The one and only Bernie Fernandez. Folks, we don't always talk real estate. We love to talk with other huge dreamers in all walks of life, in all businesses, not just real estate. So Bernie's here. He's going to be talking about being grateful, setting goals, and managing time, and specifically to the agents out there. And not just the agents on my team, but I want all agents to be successful. Because the statistic is this: 80% of agents fail within their first year. So if we can help, if any one of you are out there who is a new agent or taking that leap of faith into the real estate career, whether you're working for us or a competitor, we're here to help. I want everyone to succeed. You know what I'm saying, Bernie?
Well, you wish well for others, it comes back to you.
Absolutely. So Bernie has a tremendous sales background with great success. And again, his sales techniques translate into not just real estate, but all types of sales fields. So he's going to have a little bit of a 3-part lesson for us, but he's also going to tell you a little bit about his story.
Thanks a lot.
The floor is yours, sir.
Appreciate
Bernie
it.
Fernandez, everybody.
Thank you. I'm going to share some things about myself so you understand where I'm coming from. Not to impress you, but to impress upon you. I've walked this path. I'm still walking this path. I do it every day. But, it all started with, I was an Air Force brat. And traveled all over, lived all over as an Air Force brat. And, I went to 8 different schools in one school year in my middle school. And you had to learn quick to step up. And either you're going to sit in the back of the room or step up and make friends. And that's really where it started for me, being able to get out there and talk to strangers. And
so that's where you got your outgoing personality.
That's where I said I developed the outgoing personality.
Yeah.
And you said persistent. I can't tell you how many times I've been given emails or told, Bernie, you are pleasantly persistent. Okay? And I just like to stay in front of people. Yeah. But doing that as an Air Force brat, then I went to school. I went to UCLA. I was a wandering generality. Pete, you and I talked about that. I was a wandering generality. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. Found out that school really wasn't for me, not at that stage of my life. And I joined the service and went in the Air Force and got to live one of my dreams. I've been very fortunate, been very blessed. I always dreamed of living in England. And one of my assignments, I was in London, England for 4 years and loved it, loved Europe. Then I got out. Really wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I knew I wanted to do something in sales, and I knew I wanted to make money. And I captured lightning in a bottle. I started with Cellular One. I was the first direct salesperson for Cellular One in the state of Ohio. And we opened up right here in Mansfield, Ohio, actually, our first store, right up in West 4th Street, where Lighthouse Pools is. We were the second tenant in there, next to Lighthouse Pools. And, Cellular One, like I said, was a blessing. I was the top rep for 8 straight years, number 1 in the country for 2 years. I was the first sales rep to sell 100 phones in 1 month. And
number 1 in the country.
Number 1 in the country.
Years.
Out of Mansfield, Ohio.
So everybody better be listening up right now, because the man is speaking the truth.
But more importantly, I sold 100 phones in 1 month. Nobody had ever done that. Everybody thought, how in the world do you do that in Mansfield, Ohio? And again, as you'll hear me say throughout the day, I've been blessed, And 1993, I started building websites. And that was back when you could build a website and you didn't have to worry about what color. Hey, we did a Dream Huge Realty. They didn't care if what blue, what shade of red. As long as it was blue and red, they were happy. And that's back when we were getting $15,000 to build a website. And now you pay $500 to build a website. We were talking a little bit ago with some other agents and talking about what it was like 20 years ago. Everybody likes to throw that up. Well, I like to throw up when I'm talking to clients about building a website. They balk on $500. I say, 20 years ago, you paid $15,000. And it wasn't even as good as this website. And then 1995, I left the company, started my own cellular audit business, and became a long-distance reseller as well, and had great success there. 1996 is when things started really to turn, though. I owned a company called YellowPagesOnline.com, sold that business, and I was able to start a opt-in email campaign and started working with realtors. I've been working with realtors since 1989. I developed the first Ohio Association Realtor cellular plan. And then in 1996, I started doing email campaigns, not only for realtors, for brokers that were recruiting realtors. And one of my first customers to do an opt-in email campaign was the Buckeye Hall of Fame Cafe, if you all remember that. And then in 2000, I started a company called Pokertopia, online gaming. And I got in the ACH business. I was the first person in Ohio that could go in and electronically take money out of your account. And I started a collection business working with Always Payday and CheckSmart, going after people who took payday loans, and we would capture their money electronically. And then in 2002, I started a company called Streaming Galaxy. And it's funny because today, because of the pandemic, you saw how people Zoomed and everything. Well, Streaming Galaxy, again, back in 2002, we were doing the first Zoom, really. 6 people online at one time. Full duplex. You could talk over one another and everything. Then, believe it or not, I sold that company because we had, and you hear about it on our next venture, but we had problems with buffering. Not everywhere had high-speed internet access. And then in 2004, I started You Are a Superstar and Legends Talk. John Spencer from the Mansfield News Journal wrote a nice story on us because I would get football players, old-timers, Archie Griffin, Pete Johnson, Robert Smith. We get them on legendstalk.com, and they could talk up to 100 people online. And again, it was a great concept along with You Are a Superstar because we filmed people doing karaoke. Karaoke had jumped off here. It's pretty big, and we would go out and film people doing karaoke and put it online. But again, ran into the buffering issues before there was even a word called buffering. But again, I'm sharing this with you, thinking out of the box. And that's what, some might be a home run, some might not. We were ahead of the curve because 65% of the country was still on dial-up. And it was really funny because in 2005, YouTube launched. And my wife said, "Isn't this what you were trying to do?" And then 2006, I launched the first text campaign. And we did mobile coupons. I was the first one to do that. And then it came out with there was a pandemic that they thought was going to come out called bird flu. And started a company where we went in and sprayed for bird flu. Worked with realtors even then, removing odors out of homes. Okay, smoke, pet odors, etc. Using that. And sold that company in 2009. And in 2007 is when I launched the social media campaign, which a lot of you have heard me talk to you or called you about managing your social media content. Restaurants were our low-lying fruit. I went after realtors, but they really didn't understand the concept at that time. Social media wasn't as important to them. They learned during the pandemic just how important social media was. And in 2019, I had a pivot. I lost 167 restaurants because of the pandemic. And I launched again back to Sterex Labs, where we go in and spray for COVID. And that really saved my life because during 2019, not a lot was going on, but we were spraying over 7 factories throughout the state of Ohio, businesses, etc., on a weekly basis. But we did these things, and I share these things with you because they weren't just things that, hey, I'm going to do this. I set goals. I was still grateful, and I managed my time. And one of the things I talk about, and I do every day, is I write down a gratification list. And for anybody that wants to be successful, I really believe you have to know what you're grateful for. And I do this every day. Every day I write on my tablet. You'll see here 3 things that I'm grateful for. And I write on this, and I change what I'm grateful for.
What are your 3 things today? Can I ask?
Yeah, sure. Today, one of my things, I'm always grateful for this, my wife. The second thing I'm grateful for is the ability to be out here today to speak to the Dream Hughes Realtors and others that are watching, and the protection from the rain. You know, simple things like that that we take for granted. You know, when it's humid and hot, do we really think how grateful we are for having air conditioning? You know, I remember driving a car for years with no air conditioning. And I don't know how I did it, okay? Because I can't live without air conditioning today.
So should we ask the viewers to pause and write down 3 things they're grateful for?
Sure, they can write down 3 things they're grateful for. What I do too with this is during the day, we all have those moments where we get frustrated, things may not have gone our way, maybe we lost a listing, maybe we lost a contract, and we get frustrated. Well, it's that time that you need to write down 3 things that you're grateful for, because it'll change your mindset. You'll realize that those other things, hey, another, you know, the old saying, one door closes, another door opens. And sometimes it takes knowing what we're grateful for to do that. But I'll tell you the other thing you need to do with your gratification list. Not only do you write down 3 things every day that you're grateful for, but you need to look at that gratification list throughout the day. I recommend doing it when you're writing it in the morning, of course, but pulling it out again in the afternoon at lunch, and then pulling it out again before you go to bed, just to remind yourself what you were grateful for. And then it'll also maybe trigger something that, hey, you know, something happened today that I didn't put down. I'm going to put that on my list for tomorrow. But the other thing I do is at the end of the week, on Sunday, I look at all the things I wrote down during the week that I was grateful for, just to remind myself that I had a pretty good week. When you do that, it puts everything in a different perspective. So I do that. And that's how I use my gratification list. And that's how I recommend others use theirs. But the next thing I do is I write down goals. And again, this isn't overwhelming. I'm not telling you to write down 10 goals or 10 things you're grateful for every day. And some people tell me when they write down their gratification, Bernie, I come with the same thing every day. You're not really trying. I mean, there's some things that I do, like I told you, I write down, I'm grateful every day for my wife. You know, I'm grateful that she's been there by me through ups and downs and sticks by me through ups and downs. So I'm always grateful for her. But there's always things, 2 other things you can be grateful for. You just got to think about it. Got to dig deep and really realize what you're grateful for. And same thing with your goals. Every day, write down 3 personal goals that you want to achieve. And then write down 3 business goals that you want to achieve. And again, same thing. Pull it out 3 times a day just to see where you are. Hey, am I working towards my goal? Is what I'm doing right now working towards the goals I've set for today? And you'll find that a lot of times it's a slippery slope. We tend to, you know, forget what our goals are. And some of us won't even write it down. But like Zig Ziglar used to say, the most pale ink is better than the most retentive memory. And if we don't write it down, it's because we don't want to be held accountable. If you write it down, you're accountable to yourself. I'm not saying share these goals with others. Only share the goals with people who are going to hold you accountable and push you to be great. A lot of people don't want you to be great, believe it or not, because that gives them an excuse on why they're living a miserable or just enough to get by life. They don't want to see you succeed, because if all their friends around them start succeeding, and how many times have you run into or worked with a salesperson who didn't want to excel because he was afraid it would be expected of him every month then? I worked with a lot of salespeople like that. Well, I'm just going to do enough to get quota, because if I do 20% more this month, they're going to expect it again next month. I mean, challenge yourself. Fight.
Don't sandbag it.
Don't say, exactly. That's what I always used to say. Don't sandbag it. And then one of the other things I like to talk about is managing your time. So many people confuse activity with work. And unfortunately, I see that a lot with salespeople, with realtors. We confuse all the paperwork we're doing with work. So when we talk about managing your time, what's the best time to sell? Between 10 and 4. 10 and 4 are the best hours to sell. And what can you be doing as a realtor? You know, even as a salesperson, I was a cold caller. I went out every day, parked my car at one end of the street, walked up and down that sidewalk, knocked on every door, and then have lunch, cross the street, walk back towards my car, make a day of it. But I did that every day. And realtors out there, one thing I don't see anymore, and I know the pandemic changed some of that, but nobody's knocking on doors anymore looking for buyers, looking for sellers. You know, hang a doorknob hanger on there. I'm just saying, the more you get your name out there, the harder you work, the luckier you get. There's an old rule out there. It's called number 32. If you make 32 touches a day, and I don't know why it works. When I went to a sales training in 1989, I remember this guy saying, I don't know why it works, but if you make 32 touches a day, you'll get 2 sales. By the time it averages out, you may make 32 calls a day and get no sale, and then tomorrow, before you know it, you got messages and you've got 2 to 4 sales. Why the number works? And touches. Touches are leaving a message. Touches are knocking on a door, leaving a flyer. That's a touch. Not necessarily talking to someone, but if you go out and make that number 32, and you'll average by the end of the week, and I keep track. You'll see on here, I have calls and sales. Every day I keep track with a little notch, little mark, till I get that number 32, and the number works. I'll yell at my wife. I'll say, Margot, come look at this. I made 64 touches in the last 3 days. Because some days I might not make that 32, but in the last 3 days I made 64 touches, and I got 4 sales. I don't understand how it worked. Or I got 5 sales. Or like yesterday, I got a sale, but I only made three touches, but when I add up the week, I had made 34 touches.
Question.
Yes.
If you're not making the touches, do you get any sales?
No.
You gotta make
the touches.
Yeah.
You know, nobody, you know, and that's a bad, and I don't want to offend any realtor, but that's the problem with a lot of realtors. They're order takers. They're not salespeople. And the good salespeople know what I'm saying, you know, but you got to go make the touches. You got to make the dials.
I preach something similar, but mine is for face-to-face. If you can get face-to-face, that's the most.
Well, if you get face-to-face.
So if you get 4 of those a day, that's 4 business cards handed out per day. That's 1,460 cards handed out in a year.
Yep.
So think about that. And I think you have a good story about handing out business cards on a busy highway.
Well, what I used to do at Cellular One, if any of you are familiar with the Polaris exit, before they had the Polaris exit to the Sunbury exit, traffic would back up. I mean, back up to a standstill. I used to go out at 4:30 it would back up. I used to go out there at 3 in the afternoon, park my car in the berm, get out with my bag phone, okay, with the battery, and knock on car doors as they were sitting there and say, would you like to call your wife and let her know you're going to be late for dinner? And give my card out, and I'd average 4 sales a day. I mean, when I was selling cellular phones, and the numbers don't lie, Cellular One used to send out a list at the end of every month. I averaged 85 phones a month. Closest person to me averaged 36. Yeah. Okay, and Columbus at the time, they moved me down to Columbus. At that time, they were only averaging 28, sales reps were only averaging 28 phones a month. And I got down there, nothing changed.
You have an awesome, outgoing personality, but I guarantee part of the reason you were always number 1 is because you were making the most touches.
Oh, absolutely. Nobody was making more touches than me. I had a manager that would call me every day, say, Bernie, how many touches you make today? And he'd have other sales rep on the speakerphone. And I mean, it was just crazy. I set a mindset. Again, it's about managing your time. How many of us here go to lunch when we're working with a group? Go to lunch because somebody in the group says, hey, let's all go to lunch. And you get up and you go to lunch. You're not even hungry, but you get up and go to lunch because you be with the crowd. I learned that I had to say, you know what? I'm just going to go out, get some soup, bring it back to the office, or get a sandwich, bring it back to the office and work. Because 10 to 4 are your busiest working hours. You know, I went to a seminar, Peter, I told you this, again, time management. I went to a seminar, Zig Ziglar up in Cleveland, and he gave me a challenge. He gave me a daily calendar, notebook, and it had 7 o'clock, 7:15, broken down in every 15 minutes. And he said, write down when you start something, and write down when you finish it, and write down anything you do in between. Well, I said, this is easy. I work 8, he challenged me, how many people worked 8 hours or more a day? And all these hands go up in the auditorium. And he goes, I guarantee you, none of you work more than 2.5 hours a day. And I thought that was a laugh. Well, I'll just tell you the first day I did this. I went in the office at 7. We don't open till 9. I went in the office at 7. I do my reading. Then I got up at 7:30 to go to the bathroom. I went to the bathroom. As I come out, our technician had come in. I start talking to him about the seminar from yesterday. Then Paula, our assistant, comes in. I start talking to her about the seminar from yesterday. I get back to my desk, it's 8:15. I just wasted 45 minutes doing nothing but talking at the water cooler. Then I found out, I was stuffing envelopes, all these things that were activity, but wasn't really making me money at that moment. And that's where I challenge realtors and companies I work with. Hey, free yourself for other responsibilities. Let us manage the small tasks like your social media. I mean, realtors want to do their own social media because, and this is just happened a month ago, I had a realtor say, well, I don't have any listings, I can't find any listings, the market's tight, so I'm just going to do my own social media. Instead, the thought process should have been, you know what, it makes sense for you to pay me average less than $40 a month to do your social media, use that time to go out and find buyers. For $40 a month, less than $40 a month, why not use that time to go out and find buyers or sellers, right? Take that time and go knock on doors, not doing your social media, So little things like that. And same thing with restaurants I work with. Hey, let us run your social media and free yourself to figure out, other marketing ways you can get people into the restaurant. How to use your time more wisely. We all have 86,400 seconds a day. It's how we use that time determines where we go in life. It's like I was telling your son Rocco, you tell who the winners are when you go somewhere because they don't come in. And I've said this for years. Any of you have ever been on a tropical vacation? Well, you have people out there selling, 10-cent whatnots to timeshare homes for millions of dollars. And it's always funny, you walk to the beach, you see these guys setting up. And the guys that are setting up, say the beach opens up at 8 o'clock. Well, he's there at 8 o'clock setting up. Well, he just missed a bunch of people that have walked by. Other guy comes in, he's about 8:15 by the time he drinks his coffee, gets everything set up, it's 8:15. But the guy who was there and set up at 7:30, he's taking those walkers and grabbing their attention as they're walking by. Guess who's doing more business? It doesn't take a rocket scientist. If you're there early and you're prepared to start selling, you're going to make more money. And now take it to the end of the day. How many of us know people who work? Now, hours are normally 9 to 5. Back, Peter, when I was working, hours were 7:30 to 5, okay? Now it's 9 to 5, okay? But who does well? The guy who's looking at the clock says, oh, it's 4:30, I need to start packing up, finishing up. He's already in the mentality of, I'm off, okay? And then the guy who works till 5, and as soon as it's 5, I'm done, whether he's done or not. But the guy who stays the extra half hour or longer until he gets his task done that he had set for the day, that's the guy who is successful. People used to run out of the office when I worked at Cellular One because they wanted to get home. But you sat in traffic on 315 or 270 for an hour at 5 o'clock. So I said, I'm just going to stay in the office, work, and leave at 6. And I got home the same amount of time as if I would have left at 5. You see what I'm saying? Utilize your time. Manage your time. There's an old saying I've told my kids since they were little. The A students work for the C students. So get A's, but have a C student personality and have a work ethic. Those are two important things. Work until the task is done. You don't just go to work. If you have tasks you need to finish, you don't say, well, I can finish it tomorrow morning. If it's going to take you 10 to 15 minutes or a half hour longer to get it done, get it done. It's all about managing your time. So those are things I wanted to touch on. Manage your time. Don't confuse activity with work. Set goals. Work towards your goals. Manage your goals. And be grateful for what you have. Write down every day. That's probably the biggest exercise I can tell you, is writing down what you're grateful for. Because so many of us, especially in today's world, we're depressed about what's going on in the economy. We're depressed with the COVID, whatever gets us down. Take time out and write down 3 things that you're grateful for. Peter, I appreciate the time.
Bernie, thanks for helping us today.
No, thank you.
Appreciate it. Not only us, but everyone out there in any type of capacity. Hey, we should all have goals set.
That's right.
And we should all have be aware of time management, and those are great, important things. Coming from a world champion cellular phone sales rep. So think about that. It's a proven method, okay?
And I still use it today.
And I encourage copying in real life. In school they don't let you copy.
Right.
They frown on it when you copy off the person next to you and try to look at their test. But in life, it's important to copy other successful people.
Absolutely.
So you've got a success story right there, and thank you for sharing that. Where can we find you online?
You can find me online at emediasuite, suite.com. You can find us at greatsportshots.com. I'm starting a live broadcast that's going to go out every week at Bernie's Winning Concepts. But seriously, folks, I mean, I eat out of the same dog dish I'm talking to you about. What I'm telling you about is the same thing I do every day. So I'm not asking you or telling you something that I don't practice. So again, Peter, thank you for your time.
Yes, of course. How can we contact you?
614-824-7530, 614-824-7530. It's the best way to contact me, or my email, bernie@emediasuite.com.
And last thing real quick, any current promotions, deals, services you're offering that you want to throw out there, or just visit the site?
Just visit the site.
Yep.
I work with everyone. So no matter what your issue might be, I'll work with you.
Okay, now you got to help me out on repeat our motto with me as we close here. Work hard.
Work hard.
Never give up.
Never give up.
And dream huge.
It's all about dreaming. I mean, it's
and
all
get the
about
muscles
dreaming.
out there.
I'll let him do the muscle thing.
Thank you, Bernie.
All right,
Appreciate
thank you.
Buddy.